Hello students, in the previous class we have observed the colligative property of depression in freezing point. Today let us discuss the last colligative property, that is osmotic pressure. Before going to this osmotic pressure, let us know what is osmosis. So a general example I want to say for you for osmosis. If you take dried leaves, okay, so when you take dried leaves in water, what happens? So the dried leaves, when you take it in water, it will look like a fresh. Okay, so see here, in a water, I'm taking leaves, so means what? It will look like a fresh. So not only this, if you take vegetables, when it is going to wilt, okay, so that wilted vegetables or flowers when you have been taken, so then what happens? When you take it in water, automatically it will become the fresh, right? So and also if you take raw mango, the salted mango pieces, so if you take the mango pieces here, the salted mango pieces, so then what happens here? The salted mango pieces will become pickle. So means what here? If you have been seen these two examples, the cell membrane means the shell of the leaf, means the outer shell, the cell membrane is absorbing water here. Okay, so here this is protecting inside the roots. So means it is a pure solvent, and here the solute, let us think the leaf is a solute. So when you are dipping it in the solvent, then what happens? It is a solution, no? So then what happens? The cell membrane is going to absorb the water. By this what we can say? This is a semi-permeable membrane, let us think. So here this is about osmosis. So one more example I am taking here. So this is a semi-permeable membrane, okay, so which is having small holes like this. Small holes we are going to have, okay. So this is a solution. Solute plus solvent it is going to have. So this is a solution, and this one is a pure solvent. Pure solvent. Okay, so this is a solvent. So then what is osmosis? So generally the semi-permeable membrane consists of very small holes. So if you take solution, in solution we are going to have what here? Solute plus solvent. So then what happens? It is having somewhat large molecules. The solute molecules is combining with solvent. So it is somewhat large molecules it is going to have. It cannot pass through the solvent. So solvent is nothing but here we are taking pure water. So this pure water enter it through these holes, and continuously this will flow to the solution. There will be a increase in the solution. The flow will increase in the solution. So means what happening here? See here, the solvent whatever have been taken, water, it is flowing through the semi-permeable membrane to the solution. Okay, so the flow is increasing. This one we call it as osmosis, right? So by this what we can say, the osmosis is nothing but here. So which this will be having very low concentration. We can say the pure water will be always having low concentration, and this one will be having high concentration. Okay, so by this what we can say here, the inflow of solvent flowing into, means the process of solvent flowing into the solution when the solvent and solution are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, we call it as osmosis. Okay, so what we can say here, the process of solvent flowing into solution when the solvent and solution are separated by a semi permeable membrane. We call it as what here? Osmosis. Okay, so here it is continually flowing to the solution, means the level is increasing in the solution, right? So coming to here, what is semi-permeable membrane? So we are having some type of membranes like parchment paper, cellophane, animal membranes like pig bladder. Animal membrane is nothing but pig bladder. So these are the membranes we can take to separate the solvent and solution. Parchment membrane. Parchment paper is one of the filter paper, we can say. Cellophane membrane. So this is also one of the filter paper. So these are used for the semi-permeable membranes. Okay, so these are the examples of the semi-permeable to separate the solvent for the solution. Okay, so this one consists of the semi-permeable consists of copper ferrocyanide outside. This whatever outside it is there, it is coated with this semi-permeable membrane, copper ferrocyanide. So this is the compound it is going to consist. Okay, so this is about osmosis. So then what is osmotic pressure? So what is osmotic pressure? Let us see. So generally if you have been taken so see here, I have taken a tube so in the middle what I am saying, this is a semi-permeable membrane. And here we are having solution. And here we are having solvent. Okay, so now I had applied some pressure. This one we call it as piston. Okay, so now what happens here? See, so according to osmosis definition, what I have told you here, the solvent molecules is passing through the solution and the level is increasing, means up to when it will flow, up to when the level will increase, we don't know, right? So it is continuously flowing through the solution. Okay, to stop that continuous flow, we'll apply some energy, we apply some pressure, that one we call it as osmotic pressure. So what we are saying here, osmotic pressure is nothing but what here, whenever the solvent and solution is separated by a semi-permeable membrane, there is a flowing, the solvent is flowing continuously through the solution. To stop that flow or to prevent that flow of solvent molecules into the solution, that one we call it as what here, the extra pressure is required to stop the flow of solvent molecules into the solution through a semi-permeable membrane, we call it as osmotic pressure, right? So means what, when you apply pressure, automatically what happens here, the solvent molecules will go very slowly. Generally you take gas cylinder example. When you take gas cylinder example, when you on that burner only, you are going to get the gas in the stove. If you off that burner, what happens, it is not going to on the stove, right? So means what happening, we are closing that one. So means what, we are applying some pressure to the cylinder, right? So let us take example, the gas whatever it is present, it is a solvent, and the stove whenever the burning is coming, let us take solution. a general example. So when you're adding, so automatically what happens when the gas is on, automatically it will give fire continuously. So when you off that, it will stop. And if you turn off completely, what happens, it will not give. So means what, the solvent molecules is not, we are applying some pressure. So that one we call it as what, osmotic pressure. So this pressure is also, we call it as hydrostatic pressure also. What we can say here, hydrostatic pressure. So here what we can say, the hydrostatic pressure or pressure, the aqueous pressure we can say, the pressure required to be applied on solution to stop the inflow of solvent through semi-permeable membrane. We call it as what here is called osmotic pressure. Okay, so this is about osmotic pressure. This is osmosis and this is osmotic pressure. Then what is reverse osmosis we can say? The reverse osmosis, generally the reverse osmosis is nothing but the solution molecules will flow through the solvent molecules. Okay, when solvent and solution are separated by semi-permeable membrane, the flow of solvent into solution is due to osmotic pressure we are saying. If pressure is higher than osmotic pressure, so here we are applying some pressure to stop the osmosis. If more pressure is applied compared to the osmotic pressure, then what happens, the solvent, the solution will flow through the solvent molecules. That one we call it as reverse water. Let us take sea water into pure water. Conversion of sea water into pure water. That is an example of reverse osmosis. Okay. So we are having to determine the osmotic pressure, one method, that is Berkeley and Hartley method. So what is that method we are going to have? Berkeley and Hartley method we are going to have. This method is to determine the generally the pressure, whatever we are talking. What is the osmotic pressure we are saying? To prevent the flow of solvent into solution through semi-permeable membrane. So here to prevent entry of solvent into separate by semi-permeable membrane is measured. Okay. To determine the measurement of solvent into solution by a semi-permeable membrane. Where the pressure is applied. Means we are going to measure that solvent molecules. So generally we are having the diagram. So this is the diagram, Berkeley and Hartley method. So this is the Berkeley and Hartley method. So now let us see here. So generally what happens means here. So this is a semi-permeable membrane. This one we call it as semi-permeable membrane, which consists of a copper ferrocyanide. Okay. So this one we call it as solution. This one also we call it as solution. And this is a solvent. Here we are having some capillary tube. And this one we are having reservoir. This one galvanometer. So now let us see what happens. So generally in this method what we are going to determine here, the pressure to prevent the entry of solvent into the solution separated by semi-membrane is measured. Okay, generally what contains here, it consists of a tube that is semi-permeable membrane which is connected with a copper ferrocyanide. Okay, so one end of the tube is connected with what here, capillary tube, and another end is connected through a solution. Here this consists of, this one metal jacket consists of what here, solution with a pressure, application of pressure when we are going to apply the pressure, and here we are going to contain the solvent water also. So now what happens means, generally due to osmosis what happens, there will be continuous flow, means the pure water is coming and it is continuously flowing through the solution. Okay, so from inner to the outer tubes. So now if you have been observed, through the capillary, means through the capillary tube, when we are adding solvent molecules, it will enter through semi-permeable membrane. So this is, which is the inner tube, and it is going to pass to the solution and then it is flowing through the reservoir. So this is about osmosis. To stop that, what we are applying, so before going to this, we are going to note down the reading through galvanometer. So after that again what happens, when you apply pressure to stop the water level, okay, so to bring the water level equal in the capillary tube to the original position, so this one, the pressure is measured here. That's why we have kept here pressure P. See here, we are applying some pressure to stop the solvent flow of water in the solution through a semi-permeable membrane. So this is about Berkeley-Hartley method. So generally the advantage of this method is nothing but here it is very rapid. It can measure also high osmotic pressures. Okay, the concentration of solution is not by the dilution with the solution. Here the concentration is very low. By this we can say. Okay, so this is about Berkeley and Hartley method. So we are going to have Van 't Hoff equation. So Van 't Hoff theory. So as we know, according to ideal gas equation, so the ideal gas equation, to ideal gas equation is nothing but what? The ideal gas equation is PV equals to nRT, okay, for n moles of gas. So what we know, PV is equals to nRT is nothing but ideal gas, which obey all gas laws like Boyle's law, Charles law, Avogadro's law. Okay, so those gas laws which is obeying that one ideal gas equation we are saying. So coming to here, Van 't Hoff theory. Van 't Hoff, the scientist, generally basing upon the osmosis, he can also he has proposed, Van 't Hoff proposed dilute solutions. So he can also obey all the gas laws. Here the Van 't Hoff will behave, the dilute solutions behave as a gases. So what he say means Van 't Hoff law also obey all gas laws. So according to this, generally here we are going to, the Van 't Hoff is going to speak in the presence of osmosis. So as we know, according to Boyle's law, at constant temperature what happens? P is inversely proportional to volume. PV is equals to constant, right? So in Van 't Hoff, how we are going to represent? The osmosis is represented by pi, so which is inversely proportional to volume. So then pi V is equals to K, which is a constant. So this is about Boyle's law. And coming to Charles' law. So Charles' law, what we can say here? P is directly proportional to temperature at constant volume. Okay. So now by this what we can say, if suppose if you consider in osmosis pi is directly proportional to T, then pi is equals to K dash T. So this is about Charles' law. This is constant, this is constant. So as we know, pi is inversely proportional to 1 by V, pi is directly proportional to T. Then what we can write? Pi is inversely proportional to 1 by V and pi is directly proportional to T. So by this what we can write here? Pi is proportional to T by V. So here to remove that proportionality, pi is equals to S into TV. So where S is equals to what we can say here? S is equals to constant. Solution constant we can say. So by this what we can write here? CST. Okay. So where pi is equals to, as we know, volume, concentration is always inversely proportional to volume. Then volume is equals to 1 by C also we can write. So in the place of volume we can write it as what here? 1 by V is nothing but what here? Concentration. So by this what we are going to get? Pi is equals to CST, or we can write it as pi is equals to CRT. Okay. So where C is 1 by V, that is pi V is equals to RT. So by this pi V is equals to nRT. So see here, according to Boyle's law, the osmotic pressure is inversely proportional to volume. So pi V is equals to K. According to Charles' law, pi is equals to temperature K dash T. So when you combine these two equations, then what you are getting? Pi is proportional to T by V, whereas is solution constant. As we know that volume is always inversely proportional to concentration, or concentration is inversely proportional to volume. So we are writing as pi is equals to CST, or pi is equals to CRT. So then what we are getting? C is nothing but 1 by V, as we know. Okay. So then pi V is equals to 1 by V into RT. So then R, S and R is same. Why? Because here S is almost equals to R. S is gas constant, whereas R is also gas constant. In the place of S I have written R, that's all. Okay. So then we are going to get here pi V is equals to RT, nRT. So for n mole of gas. So where n is nothing but what here? Weight of the molecules by gram molecular weight of the solute. A is weight of the solute. A is nothing but weight of the solute, where capital M is nothing but gram molecular weight of the solute. In the place of pi V we can write it now. Pi V is equals to A by M into RT. To determine the molecular weight, what we are going to get here? M is equals to ART by pi V, where 1 by V is nothing but what? Concentration. Then we can write pi is equals to ART by pi into C. So this is the molecular weight of the solute to determine. Generally, the Van't Hoff factor is this one. Okay, so now we are having abnormal molar mass. Abnormal molar mass. Abnormal is nothing but to find the normalities. Okay, so normality of molecular weight we are going to find. So generally here, if you have been observed in the previous class, colligative properties definition I have told you. So what is the colligative properties? Colligative properties is nothing but it depends on the number of the solute particles but not on the nature of the solute particles. That one we call it as colligative properties we are going to say. So we have seen elevation in boiling point, depression in freezing point. For everywhere we are seeing molecular weight of the solute only. Okay, and in osmotic pressure also we have seen the measurement of the solvent and solution. So coming to here, abnormal molar mass, let us take NaCl. So NaCl is divided into Na plus plus Cl minus. So means what happening here, it is giving two particles, one plus charge, one minus charge. It will give what here, particle. So depending upon the number of the particles but not on the nature of the solute what we are taking here. Okay, so not only this, if you take CaCl2, what it is giving, Ca plus 2 Cl minus. So means what here, it is giving three particles. So depending upon the solute particles, not on the nature of the solvent, we can say. So this is about generally colligative properties. So if you have been seen Raoult's law, as I have discussed with you, Raoult's law is nothing but what, ideal gas equation means which will obey all gas laws. That one we call it as ideal gas. So coming to Raoult's law, which will obey Raoult's law, we call it as ideal gas. Which does not obey Raoult's law, that one we call it as non-ideal gas equation. Okay, so here in non-ideal solutions we are going to have some deviations. Okay, if you take pure solvent, it is completely equal. If you take some solute to this solvent, then what happens, it is decreasing the vapor pressure. So means what happening, it is showing some non-ideal behavior, it is showing some deviations. Okay, so that deviations, why the deviations we are going to get here in ideal solution, the intermolecular forces in the solvent are negligible. If you have been seen in the previous section, we have discussed liquid state and gaseous state. If you have been van der Waals equation, when we have seen pressure correction and volume correction, in that according to real gases it is occupied. If according to ideal gases, if you have been seen, the intermolecular forces are negligible, right? In ideal solution what happens, the intermolecular forces in the solvent are negligible. But in non-ideal solutions what happens, the intermolecular forces are considered. So why? Because such solutions will show deviations in Raoult's law. Means what here, the colligative properties is going to show the deviations we are going to say here. And we have seen the examples also. Here NaCl is undergoing Na plus and Cl minus. Okay, so generally here whenever the number of particle increases, the particle, if number of particles is increasing, automatically colligative properties also increases. If particles increases, the colligative properties also increases. So by this what we can say here, but colligative properties and molecular weight of the solute are inversely proportional. Here the colligative properties and the molecular weight, molecular mass of solute is inversely proportional. So why we say means here, whenever you add solute to the solvent, it is having some values. For example, I have taken two persons. One person is having 10 rupees, another person is having 20 rupees. If you have been seeing the difference, both of these, okay, so means what happening, there is some difference between them. Okay, to determine that only we have taken abnormal molar mass to determine the calculations. Okay, so Van't Hoff introduced a factor, that is I. The Van't Hoff introduced a factor which is I, as we derived from Van't Hoff factor pi v is equals to nRT, or we can take pi v is equals to IRT also from experimental. Okay, so from calculated value, if you have been taken pi v is equals to RT, if I is equals to, then what you are getting, pi v is equals to RT. So by this, what we are going to get, pi in experimental by pi in calculated value is equals to I. So here the Van 't Hoff factor due to abnormal mass, what he is going to calculate means, so here he explains about I is equals to experimental value of colligative property by calculated value of colligative property. So if you do experiment, you are going to get one value. If you do calculation, you are going to get one value. For example, when you do volumetric analysis, I am giving one value, you are going to get, when you do experiment, you are getting one value, right? So when you are doing, you get one value, that is experimental value. Whatever value I give, that is the calculated value. So it may undergo association or it may undergo dissociation. So this Van 't Hoff is going to have generally two cases. If you take case 1, solute dissociation. So means what, here ionization is going to happen. Okay, so if I am taking A gives rise to n molecules of B, means here one molecule I am taking A, B how many molecules I am taking, n. Okay, so here A how much I have taken, 1, B how much I have taken, n molecules. So if suppose if it is undergoing some dissociation is nothing but what, for example AB I have been taken A plus plus B minus, so this molecule is dividing it into atoms, we call it as dissociation. So A is giving rise to NB, which is a 1, and this is a N. So by this, what we can say, if suppose it is undergoing a reaction with alpha particles, alpha is nothing but what means here, degree of dissociation we are going to say. This degree of dissociation is nothing but here, which will be the reactant and product molecules is in equilibrium condition. Okay, so whenever the reaction is going to start, here we are going to get alpha particles. Okay, so then what you are getting here, this is 1 minus alpha, this is n alpha. See here, once again I am saying, here A is having 1 mole and B is having n. Okay, so whenever the reaction starts, the degree of dissociation is minus alpha, here it is alpha. Then what happens, this one you are going to get 1 minus alpha and this one you are going to get n alpha. So according to this, so by this what we can write, 1 minus alpha gives rise to n alpha. Okay, so when you add this one,